Well, welcome to Ascend the Hill with Pastor Jeremy Austill. We're here again this week. We're in our new setup kind of thing. I think that's what we're rolling with.
Facing each other.
Facing each other.
Makes the conversation a little easier.
Yeah, a little easier. I get to look right in your eyeballs, you know.
Well, for better or worse.
Yeah. And so
Which
today,
you said my eyes change.
yes.
That like they have
Depending on what you're doing, they do change.
or what mood I'm in.
Yes, like I can usually read your emotion or where you're at on how your eyeballs look.
That's weird.
And I've seen them change mid-conversation. Just like, all right, I probably should stop talking. So it is a real thing. I feel like we need to strap a camera around. And I'm not the only one who's noticed. There's quite a few that have noticed.
Well,
so, I mean, Cindy and I have laughed about it for, 10 years. Like, did you see his eyes change? I think I have a photo.
Shapeshifter.
This is random. I mean, we're already off the rails. I have a photo of you from one of the years we worked convention with you, and you're like this is when you had long hair.
Yeah.
So like you're on the stage, and I need to go back and find it because I can zoom in on and I can show you.
I'd love to see
They look
it.
totally different.
Because
Like,
I have no clue.
it's like this smoldering intensity. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like, don't even cross it.
Well, I have no clue.
Yeah.
And I mean, most of our church people are like, what are you even talking about? Like, they've not seen that side. I've been very well behaved.
Yeah. Well,
So.
So last Wednesday you preached on contentment.
Yes.
And then Sunday you preached on stewardship. You tied in contentment too. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I'm preaching on generosity tonight. So we're getting 3 straight sermons.
That's where Philippians fell.
Yep.
We're finishing Philippians tonight, and so that's kind of how the letter ends.
Yep.
With basically an offering of sorts. So just an acknowledgement from Paul of the value of their generosity to his ministry. So.
Yeah. So I'm fired up about it though.
Good.
So I'll say some stuff in the podcast today, but I'm pumped.
Okay.
I feel stirred about it. But before we do that, a couple of current events that one of them I think is hilarious. Like I know it's probably not funny, but it is funny to me. I guess last week, Vladimir Putin, the president of, I guess he's president. I don't know what they.
I think that's how it works.
Visited America. Did you see any of the footage from it?
I did. Visited Alaska.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Alaska is amazing. That's a whole nother conversation. I'm going back to Alaska in January to preach a conference. Of course, in January, there's about 4 hours of daylight, and it's 3 feet of snow everywhere. But I'm looking forward to it. Anyway.
I would love it. So there was 2 different instances where I thought, I laughed out loud watching the videos. The first one was when he first got there. They had a B-52 flyover.
Yes.
And focused all the camera. And I thought, that is the most American thing we could ever do.
It was like a Top Gun, buzz the tower moment.
Yeah. I was dying. I just thought it was hilarious. People joke about America all the time but that was stereotypical America.
Oh, you could hear the Star Spangled Banner under the surface of that video.
Yeah, like the eagle screeching in the background. Yeah. I thought it was comical. I thought it was hilarious because of all the things we're going to do, that right there is it.
Yeah, it definitely felt calculated, planned, strategic, sending a message.
Yeah.
And, I think when you are in matters of diplomacy and our president is engaged in trying to bring an end to war, there is something to be said for demonstrations of strength to just establish the significance of your voice. And so, I know there's a lot of religious layers and biblical layers that come into the play of assessing all of that. But I'm with you. It was just fascinating, the coordination, and the thought out process of that. My ultimate hope is, I hope President Trump is successful and that war in Ukraine can come to an end and everybody find a mutually agreed upon conclusion. That's what you hope. This is a completely different trajectory, but I'm blown away at people that are critical of any president. Forget your politics for a moment. Any representative of the United States of America saying, hey, we're trying to bring a conclusion to bloodshed and war. So it does go to show you at times how like politically toxic we can be.
Right.
Anyway.
Oh yeah, we're in an age where in either side, nobody can do something right. I mean, somebody's going to disagree. But so the other thing I noticed, and this is something that I feel like I pick up on a lot, and I think it's because in the church world, like I'll notice it, is they did an interview, like standing behind podiums, all the cameras are on, and he referred to him as Vladimir from the microphone.
Yeah.
And it was like very like, whoa, okay. It's, like in church.
Instead of President Putin.
Yes. So like in a church, it's like if somebody refers to you as your first name. Even, I'm at the point where like when you refer to yourself by your first name, like in your preaching or whatever, it's almost like shocking to me. Like, oh, wait a second. So it's like anytime somebody's ever referred to you as your first name, I'm like, wait a second. Like, but I noticed that and I was like, oh my gosh, like it's almost this like show of force, but it's very striking.
Well, yeah, and you wonder, like, was that calculated? Right. Was it just a slip of the tongue? Was it a familiarity among, international leaders that are kind of beyond all of the formalities? Who knows what it is, but I'm a proponent of some formalities, and that probably makes me a little old-fashioned, and I probably am a little more of an old soul in general. I've said for years now, when I worked in the district office, I called pastors pastor, pastor so-and-so, pastor, even people, pastors that were my age, pastors younger than me, pastors that I was good friends with, especially in the company of other people, largely because I wanted to steward my own heart and make sure that I had properly positioned that person in my thoughts and in my attitude toward them. That even if I did not necessarily align with them philosophically, or I found in my observations that there were some things that I wouldn't perceive as positives, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to honor that position and honor that person for my own well-being, not trying to fluff them up or get anything out of them, just always trying to make myself mindful of like elevating people and honoring people. And when I say that, that whole conversation's weird for me because I'm not going to go around being like, it's pastor. You know, and even like we're talking about it, and we just have crossed over into something really uncomfortable for me. So I just say it for me, like how I speak, like when I'm speaking of you in front of other staff, in front of congregants, it's Pastor Gunner, even though, it's Gunner that I've known since you were a teenager. Yeah. And so anyway.
No, I remember, this just triggered this memory. I remember the first time you called me Pastor Gunner.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was like shocking to me. Yeah. It was like, wait a second.
Right.
Because you've always been kind of an authority in our life. You are. And so we were at Fine Arts and you were walking with Kingston and you said something about, well, Pastor Gunner. I was like, wait, you ain't got to call me that. You made we're in a totally different topic, but you had made the statement a couple of weeks ago about at Cornerstone, we honor up, we honor down, we honor left, we honor right. Yes. And I just think that's so, like, that heart posture of what you're saying, like even people you didn't necessarily agree with, I just think it's a great place to honor.
Well, I look at you guys, and like you said, we're off course. Yeah. We'll get back on course. I'll just finish it with this. I look at you, Pastor Curtis, Pastor A.T. Like, I've known y'all since you were teenagers, and I have to be really intentional from day one of y'all being here and the process of y'all coming here to not handle you the way I handled you when you were a teenager, to put some respect on your name, so to speak. So it's very intentional, even for me as I lead you, to say, Pastor, to just constantly remind myself, this is not the kid that I knew. This is a grown man with a call and anointing on his life. And I want my speech to reflect that dignity. Anyway, whatever.
Well, we're going to talk about stewardship today. I know money is everybody's favorite topic to talk about. So,
full stop though. Like, I am of the belief that if talking about money makes you uncomfortable, then you probably need to assess your heart posture and relationship with money.
Yeah.
With the caveat being sometimes there's just pure manipulation, and it's just clear that there's greed and manipulation, and that's not a discomfort. That's a matter of righteousness. That's a matter of morality. That's a matter of truth. But by and large, it should just not be that hard or complicated to talk about.
Yeah.
In the church, we sometimes shy away from it because of the accusations that the world has hurled against the church. All the church cares about is money. The church has no accountability. The church wants to weigh in on politics, but they want to keep their tax exempt status. Like all of the accusations hurled against the church. And so a lot of times as spiritual leaders and in the church in general, we allow the accusations of the uninitiated to influence what we talk about and how we talk about it. Yeah. Even there was a ministry era. We talked about positive world, neutral world, negative world. So there was a stretch, kind of probably end of positive world and all through neutral world, where a ministry tactic was like, we don't talk about money.
Yeah,
we try to take up offerings as innocuously as that's probably the wrong word, as discreetly as we can. I mean, even to the point of like, hey, we're not even going to mention it other than there's some bags or buckets by the door, give as you go. And that was a ministry model for a certain era, but I don't even think that model was right in any era.
That was in that. I'm trying to think how you phrased it last week. Conversations, not conflict.
Yeah, yes.
Like avoiding anything that's going to put a stress point in the church. Like that definitely falls in that.
Yeah, so I'll just go on the record and say, and I can't speak to what was done here historically or not. I'll go on the record and say, like, putting a box at the door and not mention it and being scared to talk about it is not helpful at all. It may be, as the preacher, it may make you more comfortable because you're not touching hot button topics or you're not putting your finger on something that can create controversy. But I don't think it's helpful for people who, and I've said it plenty of times from the pulpit, we wake up in the morning, we go to work to acquire money.
Yeah.
We spend money constantly. Money has such a profound influence on what we can and can't do and the future of our kids. And so I just think we need to be comfortable with it. And one thing that and I'll stop and let you start leading this. One thing that I posted about it a couple of days later was I had 9 pages of notes, and I think maybe a fourth to a half of a page of all of those notes was communicating about giving to the church. So I mean, it was almost a whole talk that wasn't give. It's, hey, this is how biblical wisdom instructs us to handle this resource.
No, and I think it's so good when you pull in. I mean, on Sunday you pulled in. By the way, if you've not listened to Sunday's sermon, you need to go back and listen to it. I mean, I took 2 full pages of notes because I just think it's fascinating and like very insightful because you pulled in a lot of like personal story about how y'all have managed, and I think that helps.
Yeah,
it's not just like I'm gonna tell you what to do. It's let me show you it's worked for us. It's principles, not promises.
Yes.
And that whole concept, and you got into that a couple weeks ago, and then you touched it again this week. And I just think that's so. I think it's a really healthy mindset to have. Like, these are principles.
Yeah.
They may work 8 times out of 10, but I'd rather take 8 out of 10 than 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I like my odds over there.
Yeah, and I just think it works. But you had touched this point on Sunday, and you and I got to sit in a session a couple months back where something similar was touched about mammon being an idol. And we sat in that session, that Generosity Accelerator, where they talked about, the world doesn't like when you talk about money because money is an idol.
Yes.
And it's their God. And so you touched that on Sunday, and what a point.
Right.
I mean, you pulled in all the reference. I don't know if you want to expand on it to give the listener kind of a clue, but I thought it was so rich because I think if we can see it that way, I feel like it can help us address it the right way.
Yeah.
That it can be an idol. And so I don't know if you want to.
Well, a lot of things in life are what I would call benign. They're neither good nor bad, but our heart toward them and how we handle them and our relationship either sanctifies it or secularizes it. It either becomes an instrument, a tool for heightened or deepened spirituality, or it becomes an instrument or tool for the enemy to weaponize against us. I mean, for instance, relationships, just the big category of relationships. Mm-hmm. A relationship is just, it's neutral. It's good or bad, completely based on how you handle it. And so when I handle a relationship well, then it's life-giving, it's vibrant, it's beneficial. If I handle relationships poorly, it can be the catalyst or an open door for the enemy and the demonic to come and harass me. So financially, money, I see the same way. I said it in the message. It's an inanimate object. It is neither good nor evil. And we tied in all the different scriptures. You know, it's the love of money that is a root of all kinds of evil. Yeah. Just making sure, like, precise language there. And so a wrong relationship with money, money is not demonic, but if you'd have been with us in our Ephesians series on Wednesday nights, I probably spent 4 or 5 weeks talking about spiritual warfare and how the enemy uses wrong thinking. We get out of alignment with the Lord, our heart gets out of sync with the Lord, and it becomes an opportunity for the enemy to harass us or to start baiting us down a path. And I just see money as very much something that the enemy will use that can become an incredible tool for the demonic in our lives. The demonic as it pertains to fear, as it pertains to greed, as it pertains to lust, as it pertains to anxiety, you name it. And so I want to have a right relationship with it so that this inanimate thing does not become the vehicle that the enemy is able to ride in on my life. And so I see it as of monumental significance because how we handle it, I mean, I've said from the pulpit, I've preached this for years. Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. I believe that's a prophetic promise of heart trajectory. Like, it's not wherever my heart is, I'll put my money and my treasure. It's wherever I put my treasure, my heart will follow. So, man, I got this inanimate object here called my finances that I can use to deepen my spiritual life, or the enemy can use to bait me, to pull me into bad mental health, emotional health, relational health, spiritual health.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've talked about it a couple weeks ago. One of the main places the enemy attacks us is in our mind.
Yes.
And I think when it comes to money, we may hear something like the message Sunday and you feel that kind of conviction about, well, maybe there is some things I need to adjust. And it's one of the quickest things where it'll turn from conviction into condemnation. Yeah. And then when we hit in that condemnation, we just don't do anything. Right. It's like, well, I just won't do anything. Yeah. I'm too late. Like, I can't fix it now. So we kind of get in this rut cycle where we can't get out. But I thought that point was so good because I think I heard the quote one time, you either love God and use money, or love money and use God. Is that the phrasing?
Yeah, that's my quote.
That's okay. That's what I was going to say that, but it was like, I didn't want to make sure it was actually yours. So
I don't think I heard that somewhere else. It's possible I did.
I feel like I remember you preaching it a long time ago. So, well, there you go. Quote, Jeremy Austill, Pastor Jeremy Austill.
Jeremy Austill's fine.
And so I just think it's such a good mindset when approaching money. But, no, I just think it's so good because you laid out some principles, but you laid it out in a list of the way to priorities.
Yes.
Was the way that you phrased it. And so I wrote those down, so I'll just recap them and then we can kind of dive in. Mm-hmm. So honor God is the first one, create legacy, essentials of life, what is owed, generosity, and luxuries.
Yes.
So you kind of broke them down that way, which I thought was a great way of, because when we get our priorities in order, we can get our house in order.
Right.
You can get everything around your life in order when you put priorities in focus. So I just want to talk about the honoring God, because you made a statement on Sunday, and I'm going to kind of rehash it tonight.
Okay.
About tithe is not generosity.
Yeah.
It's obedience.
Yes.
And I just think that is such a good way. It's I heard it. Dr. Manny Rango said it this way: I pay my tithe.
Yeah.
I don't give it.
Right.
And it's this mindset shift. So I don't know if you just want to speak to that for a minute. Like,
yeah, I don't know really that any elaboration is needed. That is mine and Michelle's posture from day one of marriage was the tithe is what we owe. The tithe is what we pay. The tithe does not mean we have a generous heart. The tithe means that we have an obedient heart. That's just the way we've looked at it. And it creates a foundation. Now we can build generosity on top of that.
Yeah.
And cross over into the extra. And I know even the tithe is controversial, especially if you're on social media a lot. There's plenty of people that say the tithe is Old Testament law. You don't have to tithe today. I've taught on that before. We could go back and find the messages. I won't rehash it for those that are aware. Most people that are listening to this have probably heard me talk about it before. I just, it's not an Old Testament principle. It's not just an Old Testament law. I mean, I think I touched on that Sunday. Jesus said, when you tithe, he implied like tithing is continued. Just don't think you can tithe your way out of injustice or not loving. You know, it's just like, because that was the Pharisaical life. Like, we're going to follow the rules, but we're going to have a sour heart. And it's like, no, you can't. You can't pay your way out of a wrong heart, so to speak. As in, like, you can't justify a wrong heart by saying, look at what I give. So, yeah, I've elaborated more than I need to. I just deep conviction believe it. And I think every person, if you're a believer, that's where you start with your financial practices. Hey, let me give to God what is his. And I'll just full stop for a minute. If you are like, well, I'm not sure if that's a law or not. Well, let me just throw this in there. Giving 10% of your resources to the Lord in faith, find me the negative. Find me the negative. Show me the negative. It's saying, if you don't say the tithe is law, if you think, well, you're still saying, out of the resources, I'm going to use my resources to worship the Lord. One way or another, giving is like, you cannot escape the concept of giving from the Christian life, like from the Christian ethic. And so, and I, to be clear, like, we don't, I'm not looking at people's tithing records. I said that Sunday at one of the services. I mean that. I'm not evaluating people like, oh, you're a tither, you're not. That's just not the way I operate.
Yeah.
I'm just pastoring the people saying, hey, if you want to be in alignment with God, here's an area where you got to start aligning yourself with him.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think that, when people look at stewardship or even just giving in general, they see, there's all kinds of studies where there's different models of giving, and there's spontaneous giving. Those are people that like to meet needs.
Yeah.
Like, you bring a need before them, they're going to meet it.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to write the check. They're not necessarily tithing every week, but if something arises in somebody they know, like their life, they'll jump on it.
Yeah.
And then there's, and it's this phrasing, and I think this has cringed people, is systematic giving.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, maybe just in my generation, they don't like that terminology.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if they feel like it diminishes it. But I do want to talk about systematic giving, because to me, systematic giving is budgeting.
Yes.
It's learning. Dave Ramsey talks about learning to live on the 90.
Yes.
And not needing the 10.
Yes.
And so I do
want to be clear. I've never missed the 10. Never missed the 10. It was 25 years ago, but I was telling some of y'all, when Michelle and I got out of college, we got out of college with a pile of debt from school loans. Not as much as people have today, but pay scale was different. So my first salary was $24,000. Michelle's first teacher salary was $20,000, $20,500. And that's what we started with. We had tens of thousands of dollars in debt. I was a high risk insurance. We had enough accidents that when the insurance got handed over to us, it was astronomical. We're paying rent. What I didn't say in all of that is, number one, we tithed. We never missed the 10% that whole time living. Now, we lived in something that most people today wouldn't be willing to live in. We lived in a rent house that I joke, like, there were fleas in it. We had to get the fleas out. We had to, and some people are like, well, I'm not doing that. It's like, we're building a life.
Right.
We're building a life. And which comes back to, in those areas of priorities that you mentioned, I think there are about three spots where people get into the most difficulty. Number one is when we don't tithe. Like, then we are making ourselves open and susceptible because we're not in obedience. That's number one. Number two, we're not good at assessing necessities. So we aren't really looking at our spending and being decisive about what's truly necessary and what's not. Number three, we get luxuries ahead of, or we take away from the first five to feed our luxuries. I think that's kind of how I said it. But those are kind of the three areas that most people, not everybody, because some people it legit is an income, a work problem. They're having a hard time finding work. I want to be clear that anything I say about it, it's filled with a lot of compassion that not all scenarios are created equal. But those are three areas that I find that most people, when it comes to budgeting, make their biggest mistakes. And so for us, we're tithing when we get started out. We are paying our school loans. We're doing what we're supposed to do. We are living beneath our means. Oh, also, I had to buy a new automobile because the truck that I had from high school and all through college, the catalytic converter went out.
This the Stallion?
Yes, the Black Stallion.
Black Stallion.
Yeah, Chevy S10 pickup, 1989. And during college, I had the catalytic converter went out. And so instead of replacing it, it was back in the day when you could do this kind of stuff. We just cut it out and put a metal pipe in. Well, then we got to Missouri where you had to have an inspection. And so we hadn't lived there long at all. And I had my vehicle inspected to get tags. And they're like, we're not going to give you tags because your truck's not up to code. And it was going to cost more to put the catalytic converter in than it was worth. So anyway, bought a new automobile because we pretty much had to. All that to say, I guess I could have learned to put in a catalytic converter, but I wasn't going to do that.
I'll be honest, I don't even know what it does.
Yeah. Well, when it went out, my truck just slowly decreased in its ability it just got slower and slower and slower. But we had all of those variables, but we lived in a place that a lot of people wouldn't be willing to live. We didn't do things. We didn't give ourselves luxuries that a lot of people wouldn't be willing to do away with.
Yeah.
I mean, we bought our furniture at a thrift store. You know, we lived in a house that had an air conditioner, a window unit air conditioner, only one in the house. And we would have to, every night during the hot months, we would have to take our mattress and put it in the living room where the window unit was. We'd put sheets up in the doorways and we'd sleep on our mattress in the living room as newlyweds so that we could get cool air. And every night at like 2 or 3 in the morning, the window unit would freeze up and it would shoot ice at us and wake us up every night. So people ain't ready to hear that though when it comes to handling your resources. And so we did that kind of stuff early. And we just started slowly, incrementally creating cushion, creating savings, creating a discipline in what was essential and what wasn't, a discipline when it comes to luxuries. And so you get to a point in life where, man, we just through hard work and through discipline, through obedience, good stewardship, you create space and margin for yourself. So then later on in life, when it's like, hey, you're making $50,000 a year and there's a job that pays $25,000 a year and you say, yeah, I'll do it because God's in it.
Right.
Even though I'm taking the pay cut, but we've worked to get to the point. So that's a little more of the detail of the backstory. I don't even know if you asked for that, but so that's how Michelle and I started. And probably if I could give we're not rich, right? But like we've got savings, we've got retirement money, we're preparing to send our kids to school, all of that stuff. And we're going to be able to do it. But all of that started with just simple discipline with our money, like looking at it and saying, I can't afford that. So I'm not going to take out debt. You know, I mentioned in one of the services, I mean, we've pretty much always had credit cards, but we've never paid a penny of interest on a credit card. Like, we've never used credit cards to the degree that we couldn't pay it off at the end of the month. Like, we use credit cards because we like points. Points, right? But if you're not disciplined enough to pay it off every month, to not spend so much on it that, oh man, I'm behind, I can't pay this, then you probably don't need them.
Yeah.
Right? The points ain't worth getting behind and paying the interest.
Yeah.
So tons of just super practical, but it all comes down to discipline.
Yeah. And, you know, one of our staff values here is we do difficult things.
Yes.
You know, so like, even if you are listening and you've maybe not always made the great, like, you have to find yourself in a place where you're willing to make a difficult decision.
Yeah.
And make changes. And you kind of touched on that on Sunday. And I think you even got into, you know, develop telling yourself no, paying attention to what you're spending, learn to be content, hard work pays off, embrace the long game, and get wise counsel were the things you dove into. And I just think that's good practices. Yeah. You know, like telling yourself no, which is probably the most difficult thing.
100% telling yourself no is one of the most difficult things in life. And in most areas, like it is, and I kind of alluded to it in your health, your eating, in sexual appetite, in your emotions wanting to pop off, you know, whatever.
Right.
Just telling yourself no. But I am a big believer that you can get good at that. And it can become normative for you in all areas of life to deny yourself.
Yeah.
And of course, that is so anti the messaging of the world, which is like, take care of number one, treat yourself, you know?
Well, and it's even that, I mean, I joked about it a couple of weeks ago that, I mean, growing up, all you heard was the J.G. Wentworth commercial. Yeah. It's my money and I need it now. You know what I mean? It's my money and I need it. But like, that's our mindset.
Yes.
It's my money. I want to spend it the way I want to spend it. I want to spend it on the things I want to spend it on. And so we have almost developed a generation or two that we don't know how to tell ourselves no.
Right.
Like I want this. I'll do whatever I can to get this. And it's created this unhealthy relationship with things, materialism, and all these different avenues. And so, but I just thought that was so good. But it is the most difficult thing, like to tell myself no, to deny myself.
Yeah. But you can get good at that. Yeah. And I would say if you're going to get good at anything in life, that is one thing to get good at. Yeah. And the only way to get good at it is to do it.
Right.
To say no. To no, I'm not going to Starbucks. Right. No, I'm not getting that automobile. Yeah. I'm going to get this automobile.
I'm not eating the cookie before bed.
Yes. You know? No, right. Well, like the automobile thing, the house thing, you know, we're so others conscious. And so it's I want others to see me a certain way. I don't, and most of the time it's not, I want to impress other people. It's, I don't want to be embarrassed. Like first off, we way overestimate how much people think about us. Yeah. Right. They say you got a nice car and like, oh, nice car. They're not making a massive evaluation on your value as a human being. They're just like, sweet car, you know? And so a lot of times do things like, for instance, a car. It's like, I really want that car because that car's cool and it's got all the bells and whistles and whatever. But this car is way more practical. This car is more in my budget. And just the simple ability to say no to that, which is stretching you or increasing your debt load, or saying yes to this. Like I'm saying no here and I'm saying yes to the more affordable option. Houses. I don't think I got a dream house. I really, I don't think I have that. But the house that we're in was a foreclosure. So, we bought it. Praise God. Like, it was great. Now, and I've shared that before from the pulpit. Well, I'm not like, man, there's a dream house I want. No, I'm living in this house. Right. And I'm raising my kids in this house. And maybe when the kids are raised and out, we might look at something else, but only if it's advantageous in some way. Again, just saying no. And maybe part of saying no to yourself is like an eternally minded person realize is like, I'm living in a tent now. It's kind of like Abraham. You lived in a tent in the promised land. You didn't get everything, right here and now, but there's an eternity that awaits that's so superior. Anyway, I'm rambling.
No, I think it's, tonight I'm preaching on generosity, but I had this thought the other day about, I think we have viewed generosity for so long about meeting needs.
Yeah.
As opposed to sowing seeds.
Yes.
And so I think if we look at everything across the band of stewardship, so my time, my talent, all the things I have, my money, my resources, instead of looking at them as like material things, meeting needs, filling a position, I'm sowing seed.
Yeah.
So whether I'm sowing seed for 10 years down the road, or I'm sowing seed for something I'll never see, or I'm sowing seed for in eternity, I think that is a mindset shift. That's what I'm going to talk about tonight. Like, it's a mindset shift.
Yeah.
And it puts us in the right position when we start viewing things that we're investing in, our time, all this stuff, as trying to sow seed into something else.
Yeah.
And you said the quote the other day in a conversation about sowing seed or planting seed of a tree whose shade I'll never sit in.
Yeah.
That whole concept. I just feel like if we approach stewardship like that, I feel like it changes the way we view things.
Yeah.
Then we're not as reluctant on
Yeah.
giving or tithing or reordering stuff to make margin and stuff like that. So that's just kind of my thought on it. So
well, and what you're saying ultimately, when you start talking seed, you're talking future.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about being oriented toward the future, possibly at the expense or a little cost or a little pain in the present. And it's a good way to live, being oriented toward the future, not in a can't be content in where I am. I'm just waiting to get to this idealized version of my life, but I'm making decisions now, mindful of the future. That's in parenting. Like, the best mode of parenting is what are they becoming and what am I trying to lead them toward? So let me steward this day looking at that day instead of let me steward this day just trying to get to the end of this day. With our resources, let me make decisions that are going to be good for me 5-10 years down the road, not just satisfy something right here, right now. When I'm giving generously, like you said, not just to meet a clear immediate need, but I'm giving toward a future somewhere. I'm giving toward a work I'll never see, maybe. I'm giving toward advancement of God's good news, out into the future.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you give to a missionary, I think a lot of times we just see just on need base. We see that missionary has needs to function for this year, but I'm giving to that missionary for the gospel work that's going into the soil of that city or that nation.
Yeah.
That, like, we have plenty of history to teach us that, like, God's good news keeps going generation after generation. So I'm not just giving to meet their needs in the year. I'm giving because the work they're doing is going to speak into the future of that city or those nations. So everything being future oriented is a really good practice.
Right.
It's a good mindset, I guess you could say. And then the obvious is the extension of that is eternally minded.
Right. I mean, he says in 1 Corinthians, he says, I, Paul, sowed the seed, Apollos watered, and then God brought the harvest, or is bringing the harvest. And so, like, I feel like that's the secret of the seed, is knowing, like, the power of the seed I'm sowing. So whether it's financially or with my time, the power of that is found in the one who's bringing the harvest.
Yes.
So, like, no matter what I'm sowing my seed into, like, I'm going to talk tonight about when I got saved, I started serving in church.
Yeah.
I was running Pro Presenter. Like, I was cleaning. Like, I worked myself up into announcements on Wednesday nights. You know what I mean? But I'm believing on this side of it that the seeds that I sowed in what is now going to be our church.
Yeah.
Like that he's going to be faithful enough to bring that harvest.
Yes.
But I have to be able to see it as I'm sowing seed.
Yes.
You know, and I can look back on that time, and there was a lot of moments where I hated sitting at that computer.
Yeah.
I hated running it. Felt like I was left out of stuff.
Right.
But now on this side, it's like, no, I was sowing seed.
Yeah.
So like you may not necessarily enjoy what you're having to do right now, but you're sowing seed.
So good.
And the more you sow seed, the more you're going to reap, or your kids are going to reap, or your grandkids are going to reap, you know? And so I'm telling you, I'm fired up. So
well, I'm eager to hear you preach tonight. I can't remember the verbatim of how I've said it through the years, but that idealized future, like that future you dream of, is completely contingent on a well-stewarded present. The future you want 100% is dependent on how we steward right here, right now. Yeah. And so we're making little decisions. You talked about a little earlier, people feeling like I'm in a hole, and almost the deficit you're in financially or whatever the case, the deficit you're in becomes a major demotivator. Like how it just feels like, how am I going to get out of this? I need a miracle. I need a Hail Mary. But I am a big believer that you can dig yourself out of a hole. And this whole series started, and I probably haven't cited it enough, but going all the way back to the original blessing, I have a massive belief in the capabilities of people, because I believe God put in people what they need to thrive and succeed in life. It all comes back to discipline, stewardship. How am I going to handle and leverage what God gave me? So if you're in a hole, man, I'm believing for a miracle for you. But on the way, you can dig yourself out. Yeah. One little decision at a time, one act of discipline at a time, one moment, one day of good stewardship at a time. Just that's kind of, I probably didn't articulate it well, of the long game portion of the message. You just have to be committed. Like, I'm going to keep doing this over and over and over until I get out of this hole and I'm standing on level ground again. But it is the way the enemy works. We get in the hole, the enemy starts heaping condemnation, guilt, fear. He'll create a victimhood in us if we allow it, of like, I'm just subject to my environment and I have no control. And I would just push back, especially for the believer. No, you can shape your atmosphere. You can shape your world. You can stack good decisions and get out of the hole. But you have to be wise, and you have to use God's principles to do it. Like, it doesn't just happen. Right. You know, you have to begin to employ the instruments God gave us. And one of the instruments is, here's my principles, here's my priorities, here's the order of sequence that you need to live by. And here's some nuggets of wisdom. Right. And I come back to, it's principles, not promises. Everything I said Sunday has caveats. It has exceptions. But I'm like, I said it in the second service, and I don't think I could re-say it the way I said it, but a lot of times we look at the exception and we're trying to find the exception as a means of justifying our unwillingness to change and make changes. Like, we're trying to find an exception so we don't have to make changes in our life. Yeah. Well, he did that. He bailed them out. Maybe he'll bail me out. But like, to me, that is a wrong-minded way to live. Like, anything we're looking for so we don't have to make changes is, you're looking in the wrong space. Like, we have to make changes in our life. Yeah. And so anyway.
I think it's so good. I know we're pushing time, so I'll end with this thought. While you were talking, I thought of, like, we're looking for outcomes. Yes. So what is the outcome you're looking for? Like, are you wanting to be at this place financially? Are you wanting to be serving in this area? Like, what is the outcome you're hoping to get? And then, okay, if that's your outcome, what are you doing now to see that outcome? Yes. What are you investing in now? Where are you putting your time and your effort in to see that happen? I just, on my practical level, like parenting, I want my kids to turn out a certain way, I want to raise them up in the way a child should go so that they'll never depart from it. And so, okay, what am I doing now for that? What am I establishing rhythms and routines in their life so that I can see that outcome? Yeah. So that's just my closing thought. I don't know if you have any closing thoughts, but
no, I think that's outstanding. I'm very spiritually oriented, but I do think we have a tendency to over spiritualize. Here's an example: eternity. Like the ultimate goal is a new heaven, a new earth, us living on the earth for all eternity. That is theologically, in eschatology, that is the end goal. But we are mindful of this ethereal heaven, and that's where we stay. My point being, a lot of times we like kind of almost push back or disregard, hey, good decision making, good practical application, one good act on top of another, like me doing what I need to do to get the outcome. We over spiritualize, and it's like, well, the Lord will do it or he won't, and that's just not the way it works. It's not the way God created mankind.
Yeah.
Like he gave us capacity. I'm done. Close
That's
us out.
Good. Well, thanks for watching. Go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know you're watching so that we know if this is the content you're wanting. Either way, we're going to do it anyways. But go ahead, send it to somebody you feel like this may be beneficial to, and we will see you next week. We'll see you Sunday for service. So we'll see you.